Premise at 255 square feet was reduced to $3.73 a square foot. And when we apply the parameters for the 2020 model, using the same parameters that we had on the left-hand valuation, we come up with a market value of $184,000. And that's my presentation.
Thank you. And Mr. Story?
Yes, I accept the quantum.
And we'll move on to 375 Cumberland.
Okay. The next subject property in question, the file number is 19-2212. The roll number is 1305-276-1000. The address is 375 Cumberland Avenue. The 2020 roll year that went out was $403,000 as of April 1st, 2018 reference date. And we do have a recommendation for this property as well. Sorry, I may be getting you to get up
It's okay.
a few times throughout these.
Thank you.
So on the left is our original valuation stream. We have two premises at 900 square feet. The first premise had a rent rate of $30.88 a square foot. And the second premise had a rent rate of $3.50 a square foot. We had model parameters of 6% vacancy, $6.50 shortfall per square foot, a 2% other expense deduction, which when you apply the capitalization rate of 6.9% gives us an indicated market value of $403,000. After an analysis of the property, it was decided that based on market data that an adjustment to the rent rates needed to be done. So I had made an adjustment on the first premise of 900 square feet at $18.64 a square foot from $30.88. And the second premise had 900 square feet at $2.92 a square foot. No other parameters were adjusted, and when you go through the valuation stream, it gives us an indicated market value of $249,000. And that's our recommendation.
Thank you. I just have one question. Regarding changing your rental rates, did you go to actual?
So the rent rate was adjusted with the model, but we adjusted the characteristics that were in place on it. So after the adjustment, we realized that the rent rate was high on the property for whatever reason, whoever had worked on it previous to me. And so in consultation with my superiors, it was decided that definitely an adjustment to the quality of the property was needed to bring the rent rates more in line with market data. So.
Okay. Thank you. And sorry, Pamela, do you have questions?
I have
Mr. Seeler?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
And you're accepting this?
I
Mr.
accept the
Story?
quantum, yes.
Thank you. And we'll move on to 340 Donald Street.
Okay, the next property in question. So the property is 340 Donald Street is the address. The file number is 19-1875. The roll number is 1305-281-0000. Address is 340 Donald, and the assessed value that went out for the 2020 assessment was $748,000. And I do have a recommendation to make on this property as well.
Okay.
Story like this? You got
I
yours?
have it, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So on the original assessment stream to the left, we have 4 premises. We have one premise at 5,136 square feet at $1.76 per square foot. We have 2,721 square feet at $7.68 a square foot. We have 5,437 square feet at $11.18 a square foot. And we have $1,827 per square feet at $7.94 a square foot. Due to the vacancy of the building, we had a vacancy that was in place at 20% to account for the issues of vacancy in the building. We have a $6.50 shortfall per square foot, 2% other expense, and with a capitalization rate of 8.4%, we had a market value of 748,000 square feet. And on my recommendation, if you look, the 4 premises have the same rent rates on them, so that hasn't changed. But what I did adjust is I adjusted the vacancy from 20% to 25%, which is the maximum allowable vacancy that we can adjust to, and which accounts for the vacancy issues the building is having. We have model parameters on of $6.50, our shortfall per square foot, a 2% other expense, and a cap rate of 8.4%, which gives us a recommended value of $628,000.
I just have one question.
Sure.
What's the percentage? The building is 15,000 square feet. What's the percentage of the vacancy?
So our
Just
records, our records indicate in our system shows that we have 1 tenant in the building. I didn't have a chance to inspect it due to the volume of appeals coming through the system, but I did notice that the tenant that we have in is, it was a educational organization, and that was exempted from taxes. So I believe my initial judgment of it is that it was used in some sort of an educational capacity and that they might not be there anymore. So what I did is I just increased the vacancy from 20%. From my understanding, the building is completely vacant as it stands now. So.
Okay. Mr. Story, are you accepting of this
No,
recommendation?
I appreciate the, taking a second look at this property, but there are a couple of points that I'd like to proceed
Okay,
with. Yeah.
so you're going to
I'd like to
present your
proceed,
brief, okay.
yes.
Do you want to go through your?
Yeah, I
brief
can
then?
finish my brief, sure. Okay, so before we continue, I apologize for having to jump you guys forward to page 8. I have cleaned up my brief production in the future, so I'll have the photo evidence, so I don't have to jump you guys around. But as it stands now, this one I was still doing it in the old format. So if you look at page 8, I have some photographic evidence. On the top is an image of the parcel in question, its location relative to the other parcels in the neighborhood, and on the bottom is a pictometry image that shows the surrounding neighborhood. On page 9, we can take a look at the subject property in question. So it's on the corner of, I believe it's Donald and Ellis. And it's a building that appears to have some tenant issues. If I can turn your attention back to page 2. Don't have much to look at there. On page 3, I have some information on some market data. On some properties and their current lease information, what they're receiving per square foot. On page 4, I have the original valuation stream that we have already gone over. On page 5, it's a valuation summary. We have some capitalization rate data to look at on page 6 for the table cap rates. The municipal assessment excerpts. And then I have also included on page 10 to page... On page 10 to page 18, I've included the most recent mailer information that we have. And so if you look at the mailer that was appropriate for the reference date of 2017, it shows that everything is sitting vacant. It's what gave me the impression that it looks like our information needs to be updated, and that whatever educational organization was there isn't there anymore, based on the mailer information. And then I've included an addenda on the some cap rate information for us to look at in case it comes up on our cap rate studies. And that's my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Story, did you have questions?
I have a few, yes, thank you. Okay. Now, you mentioned a couple times that this was an educational tenant?
We have to be a little careful with saying the names of the tenants.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say the name, but.
It was, it appears to be, it was a local high school educational organization that was using it for some kind of a resource center, from my understanding.
And that space was likely granted to them? I'm not aware of that.
I'm not aware either. I'm not
If you're aware that the last tenant who was in this building vacated in 2012, and it was it's called an adults only retailer.
Okay.
You're not aware of that?
No.
Okay.
I'm unaware.
Now, the initial model initially suggested an increase of 47%. Now, I recognize that this has changed now, but when we do a quick calculation, it's still 23% over last cycle. Now, given the history of the vacancy and the location, do you think that this property ought to have increased in value by 23% cycle over cycle?
My understanding is that we have lots of market data that goes into our models. I don't work in the modeling department, so I can't speak exactly about that, but it would appear to be model-driven increases, so
That's fine. Okay, so now I was disputing your 20% vacancy, now we're at 25, so that's fine, that's a non-issue. 25 is good. Are you aware of any site influences, positive or negative, that might be acting upon the subject property?
no, I'm not unaware of any.
Okay, so you're not aware that there's the liquor store on Ellison Hargrave that's sort of known as a objectively troubled spot is right next door to this building?
I mean, how relevant it is to the valuation of the property, I'm unsure. I mean,
Well,
we have market regions to account for those sort of differences between areas in the city, so.
So there must be something that's causing this long-term vacancy. This is the epitome of long-term chronic vacancy. Do you agree with that?
From my view of it, yes, it does suffer from
And it's
vacancy issues.
sort of typical in this little pocket of downtown. We've got the Masonic Temple kitty corner to this building, and it's been vacant for 20 years, something like that. So there's.
I'm unaware of the time frame, but you are right that it has suffered vacancy issues for sure.
Okay, so I'm not fighting the rent. I'm not fighting the vacancy now that we've agreed that 25 is reasonable, but you're at an 8.4 cap. I'm going to suggest that a 9% cap is more reasonable. Now, so that's basically, and of course the non-recoverables. I will suggest that once somebody does lease that space up, that's a good opportunity to look at the 5% erosion to the effective gross income, based on the fact that there are going to be leasing commissions and space marketing costs. Now, if I go to your page 6, this is your cap rate table. Now, I'm going to suggest that this is neither a regional nor a power center. This is likely to be considered a neighborhood retail center or outlet. Would that be reasonable on this, by the city's modeling?
I believe our model has it as a retail space, so
Right.
that's what we have it under as RET, retail.
Okay, so the high end of this would be 9.4%. I do not think that a cap rate in and around the 9% range would be more appropriate for a property that's, it's an older building, it's stick frame construction. It has a history of vacancy, and I will suggest that there's an objectively, the stretch of downtown that's is objectively inferior or not desirable, and that's evidenced by the market's non-interest in this property for the most part. So would you not say that a cap rate adjustment is likely warranted from where the model starts off?
I mean, 8.4% is already we're already on the, starting to approach the higher end of the cap rates. I would feel that perhaps that would account for the age of the building, the location. Again, we have our modeling department has market regions based on different characteristics, and they're supposed to be adjusted already within the cap rates that are used.
Okay, so you mentioned somewhere that in one of these recs, you made an adjustment in the system to the quality, and that affected the potential net market income, I'm assuming, correct?
It affects the rents, which
Okay.
then goes down the stream.
Okay, so have any adjustments been made to this property? I see that the vacancy is clearly been adjusted to the top end of your spectrum, but does that affect the cap rate in the model?
I don't believe the vacancy affects the cap rate. I think the vacancy just affects the vacancy deduction.
Okay, so just quickly, if we look at cap rate as the numerical assessment of risk, and it's based on the principle of anticipation, is this income stream durable? We don't have an income stream now, we've got carrying costs. Is this income stream durable? Is it likely to increase over time? And then, of course, substitution, where's the opportunity in other investment vehicles. Do you think that this investment from a right-thinking, next prudent purchaser would be given a sense of confidence or a sense of pause when looking at this asset, all points taken into consideration?
You know, Mr. Story, I'm not an investor, so I can't, I'm only speaking about the relevant details of the brief.
Okay.
In regards to the property itself, I'd be unavailable, I'd be merely guessing at best as to what an
But we are
investor
talking
would
about
think.
market value and how somebody would.
Yeah, and
potentially
we're talking about an
invest.
assessed market value, so this was assessed based on the assessment methodology in place.
Right, the Assessment Act says that we have to look at market value, and that's what a prudent purchaser and a prudent buyer would
Sure.
pay, and the different inputs they would use to come to their market value. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Seelan?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair.
I have one. On the first page of your brief, you're showing a leasable area of 15,121 square feet.
Sure.
And on the mailer, they're showing page 14, total leasable area 9,985 square feet. That's quite a discrepancy.
Yeah, that is definitely a discrepancy. Perhaps the building could warrant an inspection to accurately account for some of the areas. The information we have has historically been used for the property, and it doesn't seem to have been ever raised at any point that there is a discrepancy between the areas in place, but definitely if it needs to be looked at and adjusted, I have no problem adjusting the area, just whatever is there, I can make an adjustment for it.
Because if you look at the tenant verification form and you add up those square footages,
Sure.
you come to the 9,985 square feet. I believe.
Let me do this very quickly. $99.85 to come up to my calculation. Let's say, yeah, $99.85 is what they list. If Mr. Story has included some, I know he includes a few years worth of briefs or a few years worth of mailers, it would be nice to see if they're consistent. I have no problem adjusting for it if it needs to be adjusted. Whatever's relevant to the property, I'd be willing to make an adjustment on, but
Okay, I guess we'll wait to hear from Mr. Story.
Sure.
Okay. So you did not do an inspection on the property?
no, none of these buildings had a thorough inspection. Some of them I have driven by in capacity when I was going to other sites,
Okay.
but not all of them. I haven't inspected them
Do
physically.
you have any field notes on when it was last inspected?
Not on me. It could be in our system. There could be some notes on the last time it would have been inspected.
Okay, so you can't then speak to the condition of the building?
No. My understanding is that
'Cause it's-
the characteristics that are in place, they were pulled forward from the previous
Okay.
assessment cycle. So
So given that it's been vacant since 2012?
well, I'm not aware. That might be under dispute just because we have something on our records that isn't necessarily
Okay.
with
so
that, but I'm not disputing that he's incorrect. I can't
speak to
reliably
that.
speak
That's
to
fine.
whether it is or not.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I'll-
but I do know that the mailer does show vacancy,
Right.
and it appears that it was long enough that a previous colleague of mine would have made an adjustment to 20% vacancy, so that tells me that the vacancy issue has already been an issue with the building if it's coming forward in a different cycle.
Right, I'll redirect that to Mr. Story. So you gave this on your recommendation, 25%
Vacancy adjustment, yeah.
And when does the city give 25%?
The city gives 25% only when there's 100% vacancy on a building. So my understanding is that when a building is 100% vacant, you put the maximum 25% vacancy allowance on there.
Okay,
I know that, sorry.
Sorry, but is there not an age span or a year's, like, sorry, I'm very tired from this morning.
Oh, that's okay. No
I've
worries.
been here for a few hours.
Yeah.
Yes, is there not
So, I'm learning
a
just like you.
maximum?
I'm learning just like you, so I might be a little bit off on some of the exact details of why the department uses 25%, but from my understanding of it is that even when a building is 100% vacant, there are still operating costs involved in the building, and the building has to still have some sort of a value. If we were to adjust to 100% vacancy, then we would have 100% deductions from the valuation stream, and essentially we would have zero for a market value. So we
Yes.
can't
No, I'm just wondering,
adjust beyond the 25%.
right, but I'm just wondering if there is, say a building is vacant for 2 years, you're not gonna attach a 25% vacancy to it.
No, it would have to be for an issue. So the only reason why I was open to the 25% adjustment was because 20% was already on the property.
Okay.
And then when I looked at the mailer, it's still vacant. That tells me that there's vacancy issues with the building, and that allowed me to comfortably put 25% on without worrying about
Okay.
whether it's appropriate or not, just because the evidence seems to point that there is chronic vacancy in the building. So
Right. And you had stated earlier that the Masonic Temple, which is directly across from this property, you thought it had been vacant for 20 years?
oh, I didn't say that. No, that was Mr. Story.
Oh,
that
I'm
had said
sorry.
that.
But did you agree with that?
Oh, I just said I don't know the time frame, but
Okay.
it seems to be that the Masonic Temple also has a vacancy issue, but again, I'm not aware of the lease, the times on there. Perhaps there's someone there now, I don't know. I haven't looked at the property in depth. I'm speculating based on a personal capacity that it appears that the building has been vacant for a few years, so.
And this building has an actual of 25 and an effective of 1950. Do you know what's brought up that difference?
Sorry, what information are we looking at?
Sorry, the actual age of the building is 1925.
Yep,
It's got an effective of 1950.
yep.
So do you know what
Uh,
occurred in the building?
There might have been some renovations at some point, maybe the new HVAC system, maybe they did a windows or a roof repair, and for whatever reason, the effective age was increased on it. Beyond that, I would have to look at the permits to see if it has a big amount of money been put into the building. But,
Okay.
so I can't speak to that, but I would say that the effective year does show a difference, so it would be an indication that perhaps the building had some sort of money put into it at some point in
Right.
its lifespan.
And Mr. Story had also mentioned the provincial liquor store on the corner. Yeah. Are you aware that it's been in the news?
I mean, that's had a bit of a history to it for sure. Like the building has.
But recently?
No, I'm not aware of anything in the recent news. I do know that the building. I would not disagree with the assessment that the liquor store around the corner has some issues in regards to its placement. But my only information that I could speak to would be to say that our market regions do have adjustments for the conditions of the neighborhoods that they're in.
Okay.
So when you have a market region, that should capture all of the different characteristics that a neighborhood offers.
Okay.
Beyond that, I can't necessarily speak. I don't really know what the influence would be. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. It's hard to say, right? There's also a giant tiger across the street that it seems to be busy all the time. So I don't know. Is there a tension there? Is it not? It's difficult to say.
Okay. Are you aware that this issue has been ongoing for the last 2 years to 18 months? So
I'm
just-
not aware of the details of that building in particular as of recent information, but I would agree that historically the building perhaps has some issues with some of the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay.
That's about as far as I can. The rest would be pure speculation. I don't have any studies in front of me to list or point to. So.
Mr. Story, if you'd like to give us your presentation.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we are at 340 Donald. Okay, I think it's safe to say the tenant is gone, so we can name him. This is the former site of the Discreet Boutique, the corner of Donald and Ellis. Effective age is, well, by our records, is 1925. The building appears to be true to its vintage. I would suspect the question did come up as to whether or not some work had been done. The owner has made best efforts since 2012 to lease this space. Unfortunately, the market has not responded favorably, and I will suggest that that is a function of the location, and I will suggest that there's a negative influence, partially from the giant tiger, and but predominantly I would say from that provincial liquor store. And Madam Chair, I did misspeak. I'm not meaning to say that the Masonic Temple has been completely vacant for the last 20 years, but it has certainly had ongoing vacancy issues for the last 20 years. And I believe it has been vacant for at least 10, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so we have a commercial building, Class D stick frame construction, which is typical of the vintage. Now, the leasable area in this building has been an issue that comes up every cycle. It's 12,000 square feet. I'm not exactly sure where the assessor gets the number from. It's understated by the owner based on the fact that the basement is not leasable. It's bare space, it's used as storage, it's not, it would be included on the main floor rent. We do recognize that it's there, so we use 12,000 square feet. Again, unleasable basement space. So this is the area north of Portage, best described as the Central Park area. And again, that's an former adult retail store. It was vacated in 2012, and when they vacated, it was in the press, this is on the public record. They cited an insurmountable loss of business due to aggressive panhandling, and no tenant has taken the space since. We've mentioned the Masonic Temple, we've mentioned the Giant Tiger, and I will note that the property has been 100% vacant since 2012. Now, the city has recognized that, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it's in order to achieve the high end of the city's 25% vacancy, that it has to be a long-term chronic vacancy, and I believe it has to be somewhere in the range of 3 to 5 years, which is consistent with valuation theory. So that's what we've done. We recognize that it has been vacant for a number of years. Okay, so we're using the income approach. We're actually not far apart on rent. We're using $696. City is too. We think that's appropriate. Where we differ again is on the cap rate, and even then we're not too far away. We're suggesting a 9% cap, which is consistent with older buildings, and then because we are here to do a site-specific analysis of these properties, with all the points that we've spoken about today, the challenges facing this property, a 9% cap is appropriate, if not quite liberal. I've got photos in my brief, starting at page 10. You can see this is early May of 2012. The signage from the former retailer is still up, so they've vacated. Later in May of 2012, the signage comes down, and we've got a broken glass door there. You can see that's sort of symptomatic of nuisance behavior in the area. 2014 and 2015, the site is papered. 2016, papered again. Now, I think what the assessor is mentioning is something about a high school. They may have been, certainly weren't paying any rent in here. You can see some kind of public art on the windows. Maybe they were involved in something there. I don't know, but it certainly wasn't market income being generated by that tenant. 2017, still vacant. And 2018 is still vacant as well. Again, you can see the neighboring properties. There's the infamous liquor mart that we've discussed, and it is directly adjacent to our subject. And on page 14, you can see the stretch of Ellis, just a long view, and then of course the Masonic Temple during its renovation with construction fence and leasing signage. I've included the original Winnipeg Free Press article from 2011, talking about the tenant vacating, and the expense mailer showing 100% vacancy. So in the grand scheme of things, all we're really looking for here is to continue the adjustment of the 7% of the non-recoverables, which is 2% for a structural reserve fund and 5% for the non-recoverable fees that are accepted erosion to the income stream and the competent management of assets such as this, and an adjustment to the cap rate to 9% for all the points that we've spoken about here today. So with all those points taken into consideration, we respectfully submit that a value of $430,000 is appropriate for this asset. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
So, Mr. Story, you mentioned in your presentation that the leasable area has come up several times over. So why have we not adjusted it yet then?
That's a question for you, I suppose.
But has there not been any attempt to, I mean, we have 12,000 here, the mailer lists 9,000.
Right.
We have 15,000.
Right.
But would it not make sense if I owned a property and I wanted to have a fair valuation, that I would notice that my valuation stream is off and I would want to correct that?
Well,
Does that not seem like a fair
Well, okay, so-
observation to make on that?
and that's what we're doing. So we're the agent, who's acting on behalf of the owner.
Yep.
And I'm suggesting to you that this ought to be changed to 12,000, so that's effectively what we're doing here.
But if you have 12,000,
Right,
and the mailer lists 9,000 and change,
of leasable area, right?
but is that not what we're discussing here, a leasable area,
Well, we should
12,000?
be, we should be. The actual space in the building is 12,000 square feet. The owner does not see the basement as leasable area, okay? The city does, but the city's also overstating, like, it doesn't make sense that you'd have a third of this building as the basement. That's not appropriate. So this comes up every cycle, and if I had the ability to change the square footage on the building, I would. But we're here to bring that to your attention, and if you're able to do that on your side, that would be wonderful.
I think that's 5,000 square feet of the basement you're referring to.
Yeah.
So we still have 5,000,
That's right.
3,000 roughly 2,000, so we have about 8,000 square feet on the main floor, roughly,
Right.
with 5,000 square feet on
Okay, well,
the basement, so it's definitely not a third, or what you were saying there about the,
Well, we're not really fighting about how big the basement is here.
yeah, you know what, the thing is that I don't mind doing adjustments on leasable area, but I would like to see some consistency in the leasable area, because it's difficult for 12,000 square feet being one, we have 15,000 square feet, we have the mailer listing 9,000 square feet, and if we have the last few years of mailers listing a lower leasable area, it just doesn't seem to me that if I was a property owner that I would want to correct that, so it's just,
You
I find it.
understand that I'm the agent acting for the property owner,
Yeah.
and I am asking you to correct it.
Okay, but how can I know 12,000 is the correct square footage?
I'm really not interested in fighting about how big the basement of this building is.
But the valuation does make a difference, so the leasable area was brought up.
Well,
So if you wanted to bring it up, then let's discuss the leasable area in question, then why should 12,000 square feet be correct when the mailer lists 9,000 square feet?
Would you like
So
to?
I would like to just get it accurate, so.
When the city receives.
That's all.
And I'm just going to come in here and
Yes,
say,
thank you.
perhaps there needs to be an inspection.
I would
Yes.
say that'd be very warranted.
I think that would be
I would
great.
absolutely
Yeah.
say, and I would be in
Because I
agreement on
don't
that.
think you're going to agree on the basement space.
No, and I won't, only because the
And-
areas are so different that it's difficult to put your hat on one and say this is the correct
Right,
area when there's so
right.
many different
Correct.
values being given for leasable areas. So again, I have no problem making any physical characteristic differences that need to be adjusted. That's never an issue. I would just like to capture what's there at the moment. So if the leasable area needs to be adjusted, I have no problem adjusting it,
Right.
so long as it's
So an
accurate.
inspection
Yeah.
would be warranted on
That
this.
sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
So I'm going to suggest that you agree to disagree on
Sure.
the square footage. And leave it with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all my questions. I have nothing
Okay,
else to.
thank you. Mr. Sealer?
So your difference here is based on the management fee
We are talking
Plus
about
the cap.
non-recoverables plus the cap, yes.
plus the cap?
Yeah.
Yourself, you haven't beaten this property.
Inside, no, it's not,
It's not accessible?
it's not accessible at this point, and it's, I'm sure I could get into it if I should request, but I don't have I'm not under the impression that it's of poor quality. I think it's standard quality, it's ready to lease if there was interest, so, I'm not suggesting it's poor quality in the inside. I'm suggesting that the cap rate ought to be due to the external factors and site-specific influences.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions.
So you did not inspect the property?
I've been outside it many times.
Right.
I've worked on properties in that area, and I'm well familiar with it, but I've not been inside of it. No.
Okay. So you can't speak to the condition per se?
No, I think it's leasable space. It's ready to be leased. So it's not a question of the quality of the building. It's a question of the market interest in the building.
Okay. Is it currently being advertised? Has it been
I believe so,
advertised the
yeah.
last 2 years
Yeah,
for
no,
lease?
for sure, absolutely.
Okay, because I think in your pictures, there's no longer,
Well, the owner is
Could be
certainly
wrong.
trying to lease it.
2018, I don't see a sign on your
Oh,
pictures.
okay.
There's one there in 2017 and 2016, but I don't see anything in 2018.
2017, yeah, I'm certain that the owner is trying to lease it. There may not be a sign in this photo, but they're not abandoned it or anything. They're actively trying to make their best efforts to lease it. It's not a,
So to the best of your knowledge, it's listed?
yes.
Okay. Do you know what they're asking?
That's a good question, I'm not sure.
And you had mentioned that it's gone up 23% from the previous,
Well, the model initially suggested
was
that.
748, the initial
Right, but
request
that,
of the
which was a 47% increase.
Right.
And with the assessor's recommendation, that constitutes a 23% increase.
at 628.
At 628, yeah.
Okay. Do you know what the previous assessment was for 2018?
509.
Can I,
And you were asking now,
430.
so $79,000 lower.
Absolutely, it doesn't appear to be appreciating in value. I would suggest that, and I don't know that I necessarily agree with the previous value. I didn't work on that file, I didn't agree to that value, so based on our assessment this cycle, that's the number that we come to.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Did you wish to?
I would like to add that the previous was a recommended value. So that was a recommendation that was made. The model had come in higher. So when these values show high increase jumps, it's not telling the whole story. The original assessed value would have been different from what the recommended value would have been lowered to. So it seems an artificially raised value.
Right.
But that's because of the way the assessments work from each cycle. Each cycle is a fresh approach.
Yes.
So it's important to recognize that
That's
there
true.
was an increase, but based on the fact that this was the value put in place.
So to an owner, right, to an owner who's just holding this vacant building, it would be perplexing to see an increase of 40, 20, to see any increase on this building would be troubling, I would suggest.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
And we will move on to 618 Main Street. And whenever you are ready.
Okay. So the file number for the subject property is 19-2231. The roll number for the property in question is 1308 139 9000. The address is 618 Main Street. The 2020 assessed value that had gone out as of April 1st, 2018 is $200,000. And I do have a recommendation to make on this property. Sorry. Thank you. So if we look at our original valuation summary on the left, we had a one premise at 2,700 square feet. We had it valued at $7.67 a square foot. We had model parameters in place of 6% for vacancy, $6.50 shortfall per square foot, a 2% expense rate, and we had a capitalization rate of 9%, which gave us a market value of $200,000. When I was looking over Mr. Story's brief, I happened to notice a discrepancy in the leasable area that he had listed and the leasable area that we had on file for the property. So I looked into our building permits and our records to see, according to our field notes, what the correct value would, what the correct area would be for the property. And I did notice a discrepancy in the area. So according to our best and most recent information that we have, the correct area for the leasable area is actually 2,408 square feet, which I believe is just a little lower than what Mr. Story's leasable area is in his brief. And so when you put the adjusted area in, 2,408 square feet, we had a market-driven rent of $7.74 per square feet on the property. We had a 6% vacancy, $6.50 shortfall per square foot with a 2% expense deduction, and we applied a 9% cap rate, which gave us an indicated market value of $180,000.
Thank you. Mr. Story, are you accepting this?
I accept the quantum, absolutely.
Thank you. I just have one question
Sure.
regarding your cap rate. You gave it a 9%?
Yep.
And why?
Oh, that was model driven. So,
Model, okay.
yeah, so based on whatever parameters would have gone in place, the model had applied a 9% cap rate this time around on the property, and we felt it was appropriate, so no adjustments were necessary to that.
Okay. Panel, questions?
I have no questions.
No questions.
And we'll move on to 1797 Portage.
Okay, so the address, the subject property, the file number for the subject property in question is 19-2037. The roll number is 0702-136-2000. The address is 1797 Portage Avenue. We had a assessed value that went out at $281,000 as of April 1st, 2018. And we have the parcel use is being used, we have it pucked as a commercial retail store. We have one building associated, one premise associated, and it's a one-story building. The actual year and effective year built are both 1949. We have a land area of 2,880 square feet, a leasable area of 2,125 square feet. And again, I apologize for the, you know what, let's not bounce you guys around. Let's just go to the rent comparables page.
I'm sorry, is there not a rep on this?
On what's that?
Is there not a rep on this file?
This one doesn't have a rec, no, I was gonna just confirm the value on this one.
Oh, okay. So I had the impression there was a rep on this. Okay, sorry, I'm
I
sorry.
think this is the one, correct, no?
I thought it was 1,000 McPhillips. You said I had a rec.
Yeah, I was under the
I
impression
mean,
you only-
you had to
Yep, yep.
argue.
I let Mr. Story know that I was gonna confirm the value on this one.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Check your email to be sure though.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure this is the one that there was one in there that I confirmed and I have all the recs for the other ones.
Okay.
Do you see it in your email there?
No, that's fine. Okay, that's okay.
Just take a look, I'll give you a
Yeah,
second.
yeah, that's fine. Okay, no, continue, that's fine.
It shows.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I can direct your attention to page 3 of my brief, I have included a list of some market data from the surrounding neighborhood. And so if we go to page 4 of my brief, I have a valuation stream on here. So we have 2,125 square feet at $11.04 per square foot. We had a model-driven parameter of 6%, a 2% expense, $6.50 per square foot shortfall, which gave us a net operating income of $20,782. And we applied a cap rate of 7.4%, which gives us our market value of $281,000. On page 5, we have the income valuation summary, which is essentially what we have just gone through there. Page 6 has some information on cap rates. Page 7 has some municipal assessment excerpts. On page 8, I have some photo information. So this property is located on the corner of Hampton and Portage Avenue. So on the top image is the parcel in question and the surrounding parcels, and the bottom image is the pictometry of the parcel in question. And then on page 9, we have some more images of the subject property. So it's an appliance store. And it's in place there. And then on page 10 through page 13, we have the most recent mailer, which lists some information and lists the tenant there that's currently occupying. And then on page 14 through to the end of my brief, I have some information on some cap rate information in regards to the 2020 cap rates that are in place. And I believe that's my presentation.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Story?
No, I'm just gonna ask that this be confirmed.
Thank you.
Any questions, Ken?
I have one.
There you go.
Leasable area is 2125 on your brief.
Yep.
And if you look at the tenant verification form, page 12, it's 2921.
Yep, it does appear to be, oh, no, that's the monthly rent is $29.21.
29.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. I wanted to check some actual information on this one, but unfortunately there was no other information listed for really anything else to look at besides the monthly rent, so it's a little difficult to find some weight on that mailer, but yeah. Okay.
And we will move on to 3060 footage.
Okay, so the file number in question for the current subject property under review is 19-4140. The roll number is 0756-562-0100. The address for the subject property is 3060 Portage Avenue. The 2020 assessed value as of April 1st, 2018 is $728,000. And I do have a recommendation for this property. Okay, so the original assessment that had gone out was 1,600 square feet at $12.14 a square foot. And then we had 3,212 square feet at $12.80 a square foot. We have market parameters on there of 6% for vacancy, $6.50 per square foot for shortfall, 2% other expense, which when you apply a cap rate of 7.4% gives us the estimated market value of $728,000. And after taking a look at the property, it was decided that an adjustment to the cap rate was warranted. And so none of the other parameters used were adjusted, they're all model driven. But the cap rate was adjusted from 7.4% to 8.4%, which then gave us the a newly revised recommended value of $642,000.
So I just, oh, sorry, are you accepting
I'm
this?
accepting the block,
Okay.
yes.
But I do have a question, because this is a 1972 building and it's getting a cap of 8.4. Condition?
No, so when we took a look at the characteristics of the building, it was discovered that the total leasable area is 4,812 square feet. At 5,001 square feet, there's an adjustment that goes on in place where it's a different cap rate is applied. So because it was so close to the threshold, we felt that it was warranted to bring it in line with some other properties that were similarly sized. So
Okay.
that's where it got that cap rate of 8.4%, which is appropriate for buildings of this type, 5,001 square feet and up.
Okay, thank you. Panel, questions?
No question.
No questions.
And we're going to 135 McGregor.
Okay. So the subject property in question, the file number is 19-2835. The roll number is 14002316000. The address is 135 McGregor Street, and the 2020 assessed value that had gone out was for $527,000. And I have a recommendation on this property as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
So if you look at the original valuation stream to the left, we have 2,470 square feet at $11.82 a square foot. We have 1,400 square feet at $9.84 a square foot, and we have 950 square feet at $11.11 a square foot. So we go through the parameters of 6% for vacancy, $6.50 per square foot for shortfall, 2% expense rate, and we had a cap rate in place of 9%, which gives us the indicated market value of 527,000 square feet. Similarly to the last property that we spoke about, because the leasable area was so close to the threshold, it was decided that it would be an appropriate adjustment to give it the 5,001 and up square foot cap rate, which increased it by 1% to 10%. So no other parameters were changed but the cap rate, which gives us the new market value of 474,000 as a revised value.
And you're accepting this
I
recommendation?
accept the quantity, yes, thank you.
Panel, any questions?
So where does that cap rate fit in your chart on page 6?
So this chart is just, from my understanding of it, it's just a sample of cap rates, so it's not an exhaustive chart. It's just to give you an idea of some of the major property types. But it doesn't take into account any neighborhood differences, any market region differences. And so it's not accounting for the location, being on McGregor Street, the market region that it's currently in, and the cap rate that would be appropriate for a 5,001 square foot building in that market region. So that's where it would have got the cap rate was from our tables of recommended cap rates for the property types.
Because it appears this building has parking, according to your pictures.
Yeah, it does. No, and it's fully leased, and it's being used as a dentist, some sort of a dental organization or a business in place there.
It's just, I don't think I've ever seen a 10% cap rate.
It was consulted with my superior, so there is definitely, that wasn't,
Comments.
that didn't come from my end, that was something that was,
I will suggest the location is a major issue for the property, and it's owner occupied, there's not a lot of market for it.
But then how does it differ from, since you brought it up,
From Donald.
from Donald?
I would suggest that, yeah, Donald.
Sorry.
Could be more, could have been a little more aggressive on behalf of Donald, but it's fair.
We'll move on to 1825 Main Street.
okay, so the subject property, the file number for the subject property in question is 19-2035. The roll number is 1100-078-700. The address is 1825 Main Street. The 2020 assessed value that went out was $291,000. And I also have a recommendation to make on this property. So on this property, originally we had two premises associated. We had a 2,000 square foot premise at $11.10 a square foot. We have 880 square foot premise at $4.20 a square foot. So when you go through the model parameters of 6% for vacancy, $6.50 per square foot for shortfall, 2% other for expenses, and we put a cap rate of 7.8% that we applied to the property, we came up with a market value of $291,000. And what we did was we made an adjustment on the rent rates based on actual rents being reported. And so we had 2,000 square feet at $9.90 a square foot, and 880 square feet at $6.32 a square foot. And we have the same model parameters in place of 6% for vacancy, $6.50 per shortfall per square foot, 2% other for expenses, and a 7.8% cap rate, which reduced the market value to $285,000.
Mr. Sterling, you're accepting this,
We
right?
accept the motion, yes.
Sorry, just have one question. On the 880 square feet, so you had it at 420, but then you changed it to 632?
We used actual rents in place.
Okay,
So to make an
sorry.
adjustment, I
Sorry,
just used the actuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Panel, any questions?
I have no questions.
No questions.
And we'll move on to 1,000 McPhillips. And there is no rec on this?
I have a rec card.
Oh, you do,
Yeah,
okay.
Mr. Story might not be in agreement with the value, but I do have a rec lead.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so the file number in question for the property under dispute is 19-1893. The roll number is 1405-181-1300. The address is 1000 McPhillips Street. The 2020 assessed value that has gone out was for $917,000. And I have a recommendation to make on this one. Just to get your steps in for the day.
Yeah.
Your step count is on. So if we look at the evaluation stream that's currently in place, we have 8,942 square feet at $9.77 a square foot. We have the model parameters of 6% vacancy on the property, a $6.50 shortfall per square foot that's been applied, 2% expenses, and a cap rate of 8.4%, which gives us a market value of $917,000. And the adjustment that we made was based on a previous recommendation, and we felt that it was a fair rent rate to apply. So we did an adjustment of 8,942 square feet at $9.24 a square foot. And we kept all the other parameters the same, and when we go through the valuation stream, it gave us the revised market value of $865,000.
And are you accepting the rec?
No, I just haven't. No, I appreciate it, but I'd like to proceed.
Okay. If you'd like
So I'll
to
finish my presentation.
proceed, yes.
Sure, okay.
With your brief.
Okay, so if I can direct your attention on my brief to page 2, we have a sale on the property from 2010. We have a sale on the property on February 2nd, 2010 for $650,000. On page 3, I have included a list of some market data, just indicating some market information on lease, on rent rates. On page 4, I have the original valuation stream that we've already gone through together for what had gone out for $917,000. On page 5, we have the just a summary of the valuation stream on page 4. On On page 6, we have the capitalization rate table that's given in the brief. Page 7, we have some municipal assessment excerpts that are generated within the brief. And on page 8, I have some pictures of the subject property in question. So on the top, we have the picture of the parcel with the surrounding parcels visible. And on the bottom, we have the pictometry image of the subject property in question. On page 9, I have included some more pictures of the subject property. So the subject property, as one can see, is Young's Market on the corner of McPhillips and Mountain, I believe it is. And on page 10, we have the 2017 mailer that we had in our records in regards to the property. And then page 12 to the end of the brief is the assessment and taxation department's cap rate information. And that's my presentation.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Stewart?
Yes, thank you. Okay. I'll keep this brief. Have you visited this property?
I have not.
Okay, have you seen a photo of the interior? Do you have any sense of what the
No.
finishing, quality of finishing?
No sense of the inside.
Okay, and so I'm going to assume that for the city's modeling, they probably have it listed as fair. Is that correct?
I don't have it in front of me, so I wouldn't want to say the wrong thing, but it could be. It could
And
be.
it's best described as called an ethnic supermarket?
Yeah,
Okay, and this is the former site of the Consumers Distributing building?
I believe so. I didn't know the tenant there, but I'll take your word on that when the press release. Actually, maybe you're right. Now that memory alone is telling me, I think that is released.
Okay. And the actual year built is 73, effective year built is 73, so we can reasonably assume that no permitted work has been done to extend the effective useful life.
The evidence would point to that.
Okay, and no basement.
No basement in place.
Okay, and it says, now, why does it say that there's no outdoor parking?
Where do you see that? On what page?
Page 1. Outdoor parking, 0.
Oh. I'm unaware of why it hasn't been, I would imagine that perhaps there's no valuation stream on the parking, that it's included in the parcel.
Okay, it's just interesting because the,
speculation
one of the big
estimate.
issues with this building is that the parking is a problem. If you visit, I go there all the time. It's a bit of an issue.
Okay.
Okay, fine, so you've got a sale price.
We have no valuation stream on the parking.
No,
so-
it just popped out.
Okay.
The sale price is to the owner, and now it's owner occupied, so the utility is to Young's to run their food market. Okay, but it's not investment grade, it's not in someone's portfolio, it's not being rented out. Okay, now you've got a great rent here that I was looking for this one, I didn't see it, but this is 1303 Jefferson. That's around the corner from where I grew up, so I know it very well. It's an old IGA, and it's now a Lucky supermarket. It's larger, but it's $8.50 a square foot. I think that's, I didn't dig too deeply into most of these rents, but I saw that one. That's really appropriate. So now the expenses, again, it's fine. We're just doing the 7 versus the 2. Overall cap is 8.4, and I'm going to assume that that's modeled.
Model driven, yeah.
Now, you mentioned something about the square footage. So if it's over if it's 5,001 square feet, it gets a different cap rate than if it's 4,999 square feet or something like that, right? So at what stage would this cap rate be adjusted? Just out of curiosity, we've got 8,942.
You know what, Jared? The information there is on a table. It's in my supervisor's office, and
Oh, okay.
I don't want to say, I just don't want to give the wrong information on that.
Sure.
So when we consulted, we look at the table, and then it has all the listed cap rates, and they're actually in place with the property types in question. So it's not just a matter of the leasable area; it's also a matter of different classifications that
Size,
are put on the
area,
property
location.
type. Yeah, it's just that we have property types, and they have different parameters in place on them.
Okay, that's fine. All right, I guess the only issue that we have here is a slight adjustment to the rent. So I suppose those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Seaman?
Okay, I think you said you haven't inspected this.
No,
location?
unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to go on the inside. I've driven by outside a few times, but I wouldn't, to drive-by inspection isn't the same as a in-depth inspection in the property to look at the quality and everything, so.
When was the last time this property was inspected?
Oh, that's a good question. I would have to have the information in front of me to be able to access it, so I can't really pull it up at the moment, but.
Just for the clarification, application,
Sure.
were there permits for this property, but any changes?
Permits, sorry?
Permits or changes?
From my research of it, I haven't seen any major permits. That would probably tell me why our effective age is the same as the actual age. Perhaps there hasn't been any major capital invested into the property, but again, that's kind of an idea that I have by looking at the data, but perhaps I could be off on that. But it would give the indication based on the effective age that it's the same as the actual age.
These rent comparables, have you visited these locations?
No, so what I did is I did an inspection on market data. I tried two methods. One would be to find what's the closest I could find within approximately a neighborhood of a similar property type, and then the other one would have been based on leasable areas. So it was a bit of a combination of the both. So I tried to, I know we're not supposed to list any tenants out, and I won't. But the top, like if you look at, I mean, I have some dollar stores in place, some thrift shops, some grocery stores, some bigger grocery stores. So I have a range of between commercial rental units and certain property types that are being used as similar use. So I tried to do a range of both just to give some market data on roughly what a building of this size would be renting for. So again, if you look at our $9.77 per square foot, and we have a range based on the size and property uses from $8.50 all the way up to, at the high end, $18. So are we within the wheelhouse? It would appear that $9.77 would be within the range, but I'll leave that to your consideration.
Thank you.
Mr. McIntyre?
Just, so you referenced $9.77, are you withdrawing your recommendation?
Oh, no, my recommendation is still on the table. We would be willing to use the $9.24. I guess when I was going through my presentation, I just listed the valuation stream that was on there.
The original one.
Still had the $9.77, yeah.
Okay.
So this valuation stream is the same as what's on the recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
So it was brought up, the parking is tight. So page 1 of your brief,
Sure.
the land plan area is 2.55.
Yep.
Is that a normal for a grocery store? And do you know how many spots there are available?
I'm unaware of any sort of details in regards to the parking. I didn't take a look at the parking only because our valuation stream doesn't have a parking lot valuation on there. So there's really no need to
Yeah.
look at the parking when there isn't a valuation stream there. So in terms of the actual parking spaces, perhaps Mr. Story would be more aware of that since he frequents the
It's about 40.
establishment every now and again. I'll take his word on it that perhaps the parking lot isn't the right size for the amount of traffic that goes through. I can only speculate on that. But.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Mr. Story, if you'd like to finish your brief.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, and I will keep this brief. This is Young String, and I will suggest that it is very difficult, and I appreciate the task of trying to find comps for a specialty grocer such as this, specifically in a building that was built for a different purpose. So I'm really only going to contest the rent. I'm going to suggest that a rent of $8.50 is more appropriate. So again, this is Young's Market Retail Grocery Store. That's the corner of Phillips and Mountain. And it was constructed in 1973 as Consumers Distributors. And it's a one-story building, 8,942 square feet. And the improvement is situated on a 23,794 square foot parcel. I will suggest, it's been brought up that the parking is a bit of an issue. You notice when you're there, it's a bit, I don't want to say dangerous, but it's you have to be very careful when you're when you're navigating that parking lot. And I would suggest that that's due to the fact that grocery stores tend to have a large amount of parking. Now I will suggest too that this building was purchased for the utility of the current owner to run the grocery store. And if you were to put it onto the market, a rental rate of $8.50 is probably more appropriate. Now, I do have some rental comps. The difficulty here is that when we look to grocers, we're looking at high degree of finishes, ample parking, generally better parts of town. And in this is my part of town, so I know it well. And in this area, we've got a Save-On, we've got a new Freshco, we've got a huge superstore. So we do have a number. We've got Walmart. We have a number of large grocers, and they're not comparable. We can't use those because they would distort everything upwards. So I do like the comp on Jefferson that the assessor used. My indication, based on just kind of weighing it out and looking at what the supermarket universe is telling us, is that $8.50 a square foot, maybe a little bit high based on the degree of finish in this building, but that's the number that we went for. So, and we're also using an 8.5 cap. The assessor's at 8.4, so I'll leave that to the board's discretion. We're not certainly not worlds away. We've used 8.5 in the last cycle. We're continuing on this cycle. We've not seen any cap rate compression in the retail or office sector from Q1 16 to Q1 18, so we've carried forward with that 8.5 cap. Now, and so with all those points taken into consideration, we suggest that a market value of $787,000 is appropriate for this cycle. Now, I've included some photos. If you go to page 10, you can see that's the exterior, but draw your attention to page 11. You can see that this is not a high degree of finishing. We've got sort of that office tile ceiling with the fluorescent lights that would probably be original to 73. It would be more, it's more like an older style retail than it is a modern grocery store. And just the quality of the fixtures is low. We've got some other photos you can peruse at your leisure. So again, we're suggesting that all of our points taken into consideration, we should come to a market value of $787,000 for this section. Thank you.
Sorry, questions?
Sure. So, for Mr. Story, so we have $8.50. So was that taken from a median, I guess, of all your comparables on the table there?
Sure. So what we
That's
do
how you
is,
came to the 850?
yeah. So what we do is we take a range of rates. You can see we've got some that are as high as 1050, some as low as 565, 550. So we use our best estimation. It's not like the median comes out and we use that specifically, but we look at it and we say, okay, well, that's reasonable, and then you use the one on Jefferson, that's reasonable, that's in line. So 850. I think it might be a little bit high. Now the enterprise on Jefferson is of a much higher quality. It was built as a grocery store. It was the original IGA. It was expanded to be the Garden Market, if you recall that iteration of the IGA stores. So the utility there would be higher, but barring any other kind of specialty grocers in the area, 850 seems reasonable, and our market data would suggest that that's in the range.
So the market data, okay. So let's look at the market data then. So we have on your first 305 McPhillip Street,
Yeah,
we have 22,300 square feet
yeah,
at $5.65 a square foot.
yeah. And these are all superior. These are all national retailers. Again, these are not.
These are all national
Well,
retailers?
for the most part. No, except for 4. Number 4 is not, but for the most part they are. So I would suggest that they're generally of higher quality, and you're correct, there's economies of scale to come in with a larger leasable area, to be certain.
And how about your number 8, 66 Mandalay Drive?
That's a really, really interesting place, because that's I know that one fairly well. That's 575, and that's month to month. I grew up in the Maples, so I know that strip mall very well. It's a spice house, and it's actually probably really comparable in terms of the degree of finish. But
Sorry, what's it being used at?
it's called India's Spice House.
It's a spice house, okay.
It's a grocery. It's
I,
a specialty grocery store.
A quick search brought that up as a banquet hall. It's not a banquet hall?
No. The banquet hall is okay. So this is. Let's talk about the Maples. So this is the old Addie's Video strip mall. If you know the Maples, in the very corner used to be a place called Rhythm and Booze, and it's now it's the best samosas in the Maples. It's called Punjab Sweet House. We have a travel agency. We've got the NDP office, and at the very corner unit, the end cap is India Spice House, and that's this unit.
Okay, so perhaps I looked at an older,
That could be, but it's a,
what I looked at showed me as a banquet hall.
well, the banquet hall is actually the old flea market, the old Inkster flea market. That's 2 units, and then next to it is Style India, which used to be Addie's Video. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, everything else looks okay. I have no other questions.
Thanks.
Thank you. Stephen?
I think all my questions will be answered.
Okay.
And I have no questions.
I do, sorry. On page 6 of your brief,
Yeah.
you were just looking at, what is that 305 New Phillips?
305 New Phillips is a giant tiger. It's actually, if you, you know, by the casino, there's a strip mall with a giant tiger.
And sorry, 1271 Jefferson is,
1271 Jefferson is Young's. And that's actually, that's one that's in the assessment department's cap rate study this cycle as well. So that's, yeah, that's Young's Market, 1271 Jefferson, and that is right across from Maples Collegiate. And that's the one that's a former ranch unit.
so they have 2 locations.
Yeah, they also have one, where's the other one? Is it Young's or, I might be confused now if it's Lucky or Young's, but I know that there's one behind the old hotel there as well.
That's Lucky's.
That's Lucky's, yeah, right, yeah. Sorry. That's okay. Thank you.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Move on to our last property at 249 Henderson.
Okay, so the file number for the property in question is 19-3604. The roll number associated is 1408-194-8000. The address is 249 Henderson Highway. We had the 2020 assessed value go out at $346,000 as of April 1st, 2018, and I do have a recommendation on this one as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Okay, so if we look at our original assessment, we have 4 premises associated with the subject property. We have 1 premise at 318 square feet at $14.51 a square foot. We have 808 square feet at $13.43 a square foot. We have 415 square feet at $14.20 a square foot. And we have 736 square feet at $3.38 a square foot. So if we go down the parameters that were in place, the original parameters in place were for a strip mall, so that's important to make the distinction there. And we had a 4% vacancy that was in place for the strip mall. And these are model-driven parameters, but they apply to a strip mall. $7 shortfall per square foot, a 2% other expense, and we had a 6.3% cap rate that was applied to the property, which gave us the indicated market value of $346,000. After an analysis with some colleagues, it was decided that the appropriate parcel type applied to this property is not a strip mall, but it should be under a retail property type due to the use and the location of the building in relation to Henderson Highway and the parking that was associated with the parcel. It was decided that retail would be the appropriate PTC to use. And when we applied the retail parameters to the property type, the property changed in its valuation. And so now we now have 318 square feet at $15.29 a square foot, 808 square feet at $14.15 a square foot, 415 square feet at $14.96 a square foot, and 736 square feet at $3.57 a square foot. But we have the parameters in place now for a retail property, so now we have a 6% vacancy in place. We have a $6.50 shortfall per square foot in place, a 2% expense, and a updated cap rate of 7.65%. And when you go through the valuation, it gives us a revised market value of $291,000.
Thank you.
I'm accepting the quantum, yes.
Thank you. I just have one question. So these rates that you changed it to, they're model rates,
All model rates.
based on the retail?
Yep, they're based on the retail stream, on the market region, on the size of the premises, so there's economies of scale going on in place there.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you apply the retail parameters, which really was more appropriate for the subject property, I'm not really sure at what point it would have been labeled as a strip mall. It was before my time. But in our analysis, it doesn't make sense to have it as a strip mall, although there are several premises side by side that perhaps might give the impression. But we have guidelines in place for how we label our property types, and this one didn't fit the true definition of a strip mall, which would be the property to be further behind to give more frontage to allow for parking space. And there's different parameters in place when they have the property types put on them. So
Okay. Sorry, just to be clear on the parking, because if I look at the applicant's
Sure.
page 3,
yep,
it appears there's parking in the back, which is accessible by the back lane.
great. So there is parking. It appears that there's parking in the back, but for how many parking stalls are there, and again, for a strip mall, there has to be a frontage in place. So even though there is parking behind the building, it might not necessarily qualify due to the guidelines in place for a strip mall. It has to have a certain amount of frontage, and there has to be a ratio study for how many customers go in as opposed to how many parking spots are offered. So there's many parameters in place to get the label of a strip mall. So again, we felt it was appropriate, and then going forward now we have the right parameters in place. So perhaps
So
next time around it should be valued more appropriately. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
say.
We'll see when it comes, but it should be at least
So.
more appropriately valued.
For sure.
I just have a quick question. So for instance, this is a property that's going to be changed from strip to retail.
Retail.
Is this going to fall, I don't mean to point, I'm sorry, but
That's
is this going to fall under your jurisdiction next cycle? Cycle?
Cycle. So I haven't been very long with the department. It's my first cycle around. My understanding is that once you specialize in a section, perhaps they keep you there for a few years. Perhaps my colleague can speak since he came and has gone through a career there. He would be a little more aware of how they move people around.
Right,
But it's difficult for me to say if this will be assigned to me.
Okay,
I will say that if I'm in the same section and I've worked on it in a previous cycle, it makes sense to give it to me again, and they tend to do that if you have history with the property. Since you're familiar with the characteristics, it's a lot easier for you to pick up on anything that needs to be adjusted as opposed to fresh eyes.
okay.
But it's difficult for me to say. I might be in industrial properties come next cycle, you never know, right?
Right.
It could be an office, I could be somewhere else.
So then, sorry, before you answer that, Mr. McIntyre, or if you wish to. So then, just because having been here for a few years, I have properties that keep coming up and there's been issues and
Mhm.
the issues have not been changed.
Mhm.
So would you leave notes? Is that sort of, I'm
Yeah, I mean,
assuming the assessor would leave notes for whoever is coming?
Yeah, we have a note system in place, so it's a little difficult for me to speak on what my colleagues would have done previous to me being there. I can only speak for myself, but going forward, I always make sure to do my quality control, I call it, where I go through and then after the hearing has taken place, and then all the results that you guys come to has been listed, then from there I'll take a look and then I'll update notes and do whatever adjustments need to be done. But that's on my part, so I can't really speak. Again, with Mr. Story, we had the issue of the leasable area on 340 Donald. I wish I would have adjusted that, you know what I mean? Like if I'm in control of that, I will definitely make the adjustments, but I can't speak to what people would have done before.
Right.
I can only work with what was presented at the time, and it appears that the leasable area for that came up. It's never been discussed in the past, so why hasn't that been adjusted? It's hard for me to say, right?
Okay, but, sorry, just for clarification, so you would go in and change it then?
Should I, going forward, so all the dockets that I'm assigned, I'll do that myself, but I
Okay.
can't speak to what the steps are in place for the other assessors and how they
Right.
manage their workflows.
Okay, thank you, I've often wondered that
Yeah,
question.
no problem.
And this hearing is adjourned, and I thank you both for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.